calculator, and then after that, press the numbers that you find in practice now 9 on page 108, and also the practice now question in 109. Okay. Use your calculator, press. I'll go get my mic.
To get it, you should be getting 1.89 and 3.74. Unable to get 1.89 and 3.74? Then could we move on? Alright, let's take a look at our homework. Okay, there's this A, right? Exercise 3C. Regarding question 7? No? What about question 8? Question 8? No issues? How about question 9? 9B. D. Okay. Alright, let's take a look at question 9D. Joseph, you change your seat. 9. Miss Chua allowed you to change your seat? Or you okay? Okay, for question time D, right? Okay, compare and comment on the spread of the time spent watching television of these two groups of people. Alright, we would have found, sorry, I can't jump now. We would have found the median, okay, as well as the interquartile range of the graph and from the box and whisker plot. Okay, so from the graph itself, your median is equals to 15 hours. Your IQR is 7 hours. From the box and whisker plot, you get 24 hours. And then the interquartile range is 24 hours. Okay? Since the question specifically asks to comment on the spread itself, okay, it tells us that we have to be comparing the interquartile range. So looking at the interquartile range, this one over here is wider. And in part B, that one is for a group of 64 teenagers, while the graph is for 64 adults. Okay, so you'll find that with the interquartile range being larger, okay, that means that the hours spent on watching TV for the teenagers is more widely spread than the time spent by the adults. Okay, so to explain that, okay, so you can say that it's wider, having a wider spread, okay, or you can also say that the middle 50% of the teenagers have a wider spread, okay, in time spent on watching television as compared to that of the adults, alright, due to the interquartile range being greater. Okay, I hope that you give it a try to write in your own words. If you don't give it a try to write in your own words, I can assure you that in the exam itself, you cannot write in your own words also. Okay, so it's about practicing to phrase it on your own as well. Okay, so I will look at your homework and then I'll mark accordingly to see whether is it acceptable or not as well. Okay? If no other issues, could you pass your homework to the front? Today we'll finish up our chapter 3, then we'll look into chapter 4 on matrices. In the meantime, I'll let you know also the coverage for EMATS mid-year exam. Okay, essentially everything. One word. Everything from where to where? From set 1 to set 4. Okay? I don't think it's a very surprise. You should know that O level you're taking for everything set 1 to 4. Okay? No, since when? Your O levels covers set 1 to set 4 for EMATS. Okay? The two of you study already? Alright, so for E-Maths, everything from set 1 to set 4. So start preparing for it. We only got 19 of it.
I never see part B. I passed.
Okay, then 20, 21, 22, 23. Who else? 24. When can I have it, Noi? Sorry? Why? Say again. Okay, I want it by tomorrow, yeah? Okay, then now let's go back to our chapter 3, finish up the last question today. Okay, so in example 23, you're given that the table below shows the results of the mid-year exam and the prelim exam. Okay, so mid-year exam is given in the table form. Prelim exam you're given only the mean as well as standard deviation. Okay, then for part A, you are asked to find the mean mark and the standard deviation for the mid-year exam itself. Okay, so for mid-year exam, you need to find out what is the mid value first. Okay, then after that, press into calculator to get your mean and your standard deviation. But I give you just about 2 minutes, okay? Give this a try. Determine the mid value. Calculator, get your mean, get your standard deviation. value that you got? Okay. Yes. 53.878, but that is a 5SF, right? So you need to round it off to 3SF, which should be 53.9. Okay, I hope that you are able to get 53.9 3SF. Alright, the mid values that you should be getting here is 25.5, 35.5, 45.5, 85.5, 65.5, and 75.5. Okay, so to get the mid value, you add up the two lower and upper boundaries, then after that add them up, divide by 2. Okay, so what you could also present as an answer in your mean is that it will be 25.5 times 1 plus 35.5 times 2 plus all the way to 75.5 times 3. Out of total frequency, the question did not say how many students are there in the class, so you have to individually add up all the frequencies. Okay, what about the standard deviation? What do you get, Zhen Quan? Say again. 10.5. Okay, so in your calculator, you will see that truncated 5SF value is about 10.530. So you get 10.5 for 3SF. Okay. Part B, we want to compare briefly the performance for the two examinations. So to compare the two performance, right? Looking at the mean and the standard deviation, prelim exam 16.5, mean exam 53.9, standard deviation 7.2, and then after that for me exam standard deviation 10.5. Okay, so let's discuss 2 points, one based on the average, the other one based on the spread. Alright, so how will you go about talking about the average? Okay, so Joshua, could you give me a try? How will you compare in terms of average? Tell me what to write. Okay, hang on. So, the mean mark of the preliminary exam is higher than that of the mid-year exam. Is that all? Okay. Hang on. The standard deviation of what? Okay. Is that all? Okay. So class, can you tell me whether this is sufficient? Yes, no? Okay, how many of you think that this answer itself is not sufficient? Right? Who says it's sufficient to warrant you 2 marks? Okay, Joshua said mean mark of prelim exam is higher than that of mid exam. Standard deviation of prelim is lower than that of the mid exam. Who thinks that this is fine? You have to make a decision, okay? I want everybody to make a decision. Tell me whether is this fine or not fine, okay? That's it for Joshua, because this one came from him. Okay, who thinks that this answer is fine? Alright, who thinks that's not fine? Okay, so why is it not fine? Yes, Dylan? Because it's not explaining. Okay, very good. Okay, so Dylan says that it's not explaining what is having a higher min mark means. Okay, it doesn't elaborate, alright, what does it show about the performance at all. Okay, you're just stating the fact for me that the min mark is higher than the is higher in the prelim exam than that of the mid exam. Which, okay, as a marker, okay, surely that person will have some form of maths basis. I can also see looking at the numbers itself and understanding the number line, which one is bigger, the other one is smaller. Okay, so if you give me your answers to be as such, right? Okay, 0 marks now. Alright, so learn now, okay, that this is not sufficient. Okay, there's more. Right, so this is just the justification part, okay, in the explanation in the comment itself. Okay, remember there are 2 points that you need to make regarding commenting. Okay, one is the justification, the other one is the conclusion. Okay, so to continue from this, right, you could say so. Okay, you need to talk about the performance. Okay, the students perform better at the preliminary exam than the mid-year exam. Sorry, I'm squeezing it here. Okay, so you need to tell me at least that the students perform better at prelim. Alright? Then regarding the standard deviation, with the students having a standard deviation that's higher for mid-year exam, what does that tell us? So Joshua, could you improve on your answer now that you know what is your mistake? Using the standard deviation, what kind of information could we get? More students score around the min mark. Okay, so Joshua is saying that because the prelim exam standard deviation is smaller, it means that more students score near the min mark. Okay, that's an incorrect way of saying. Okay, so maybe let me just write down. Okay, this is incorrect because the standard deviation itself doesn't tell us whether is there more students or lesser students. Okay, the value itself is not about the number of people. Okay, the standard deviation itself is telling us the spread, okay, of around the mean itself. Okay, it doesn't tell us whether is there more people or lesser people. Alright, so just like interquartile range also, okay, interquartile range is about the spread within the middle 50%, okay. If it's middle 50% of people, alright, if the data that we have are both 100 students, then 50% will remain as 50 students, okay. So it does not tell us whether is there more students or lesser students, right. So just to correct the idea, okay. So how else could you go about talking about standard deviation? Okay, what other information could you can conclude from the standard deviation? Any attempts? Joseph? With the standard deviation being lower for prelim exam, what does that tell us? Sorry? What thing better? Sorry, I didn't catch the first few words. The students did better in the prelim exam, but that was already concluded from the mean mark, right? Oh, sorry, what is my... But that one, talking about performance being better in general, we already concluded that based on the mean mark, right? Because that is the average performance. Okay, now we're talking about the spread. So, yeah. Okay. Okay, so the students score closer to the mean based on the standard deviation. Okay, so for pre exam, we see that the students score closer to the mean because it is the spread itself towards the mean. While for mid-year exam, with the standard deviation being greater, it means that it's further away from the mean. So what you could do to explain is to use this idea of more consistently, okay, consistently performing closer to the mean. Okay, so to write that out in words, so the students perform more consistently around the mean during the prelim as compared to, I'll just write it short now, not enough space, mid-year exam M1E, okay? So we talk about performance more consistently around the mean. Okay? Questions? Okay, if no questions, then for homework, okay, exercise 3D. Question 8, 9, 11, and 13. I want everyone for this homework, okay, to really give it a try whenever you're asked to actually compare, comment on the data itself. Okay, so please write your own sentences. Okay, if you don't write, you will never be able to generate it during the exam as well. Okay. So when should homework be due? I only see you next on Tuesday and Wednesday. Wednesday? Would that be fine? Wednesday? Okay, so 3rd March, huh? Okay. So that's all for your chapter 3. We will now look at your matrices. The earlier one ready? Okay, Okay, let's introduce some basic idea first, okay, by understanding what is a matrix. A matrix itself is usually expressed, okay, in columns and rows. It's a set of numbers, okay, being placed within brackets. You must have the brackets itself. Okay, so for example, I can have a matrix that is in this manner. And in this matrix itself, this is what we call columns. So there are 3 columns. Okay, and reading it in this manner is what we call a row. So there are 2 rows. Okay, and the numbers that we find inside the brackets or within the matrix itself is what we call an element. So notice that we have been using a lot of this idea of element. In sets, we also mentioned about element. Okay, in matrix, we recognize elements as a different matter. Okay. So recognizing the number of columns and the number of rows, that will tell us the order of the matrix. In this case, the order of the matrix for this, okay, will always be number of rows by number of columns. So this is a 2 by 3 matrix. Okay, it is not a calculation 2 times 3, no. Okay, we read this as 2 by 3. So please don't tell me that the order is 6, okay, 2 by 3. So rows first, then columns. So this is the fundamental understanding that you need to know regarding matrices first. So let's practice that. The elements that we have in a matrix need not always be integers. They can actually be negative numbers. They can be our fraction. They can be our decimals as well. Okay, and notice that there are no commas found inside the matrix. Alright, so in this practice now question, we want to write down the order of the matrices. Order of part A. Again, can you tell me what is the answer for part A? The order is 2 by 4. Okay, so this is a 2 by 4 matrix. What about part B? What is the order of the matrix? 可嘉 2 by 2. And what about part C? What is the order? Lin Hui, what do you think? 3 by 1, good. And in part D, what is the order that we have? Amanda? 1 1 by 4. And then for part E and F, okay, Victor, what do you think? 1 by 1. Okay, so both of these are 1 by 1 matrices. Alright, so I hope that you are also able to get these answers. Right? Looking at all this order, we do have some special names, okay, for certain matrices. So in this case, where we notice that the number of rows and number of columns is the same, we also call it a square matrix. Okay, so a square matrix is when the number of rows and number of columns are the same. Okay, and in part C, we see that we only got one column, so we also call this a column matrix. Okay, where there's one column only. So naturally, when we see part D, where there is only one row, we call this a row matrix. Okay. For part E and F, it is 1 by 1. Since number of rows and number of columns are equal, it is what we call a square matrix as well. However, in part F, okay, so this is also a square matrix. In part F itself, we see that the element, okay, is 0. We also have a special name, which is that it is a zero matrix. Okay? So long as the elements, all the elements found in the matrix are 0, okay, we call it a zero matrix. So there are many forms of zero matrices. We can have a row matrix, we can have a column matrix, we can have a normal matrix, okay, with all elements 0. But sometimes, okay, this is definitely tedious to write when you want to write a matrix where all the elements are 0. So we have a special notation for it in general, which is a 0. To differentiate this from a normal number itself, okay, we write it as 0 with a curly sign at the bottom, okay, to denote that this is a zero matrix. Okay, zero matrix is not the same as 0, so this is a matrix, this is a number. Okay. Questions? Right, the reason why we introduce matrices is because you notice that when in maths, we have a lot of our data, okay, a lot of our information being sorted into table forms. So when it is in table forms, it helps in organizing the information. It helps in for us to see things. Okay, so we want to actually calculate things in a quick and efficient manner in our maths. Okay, so therefore we introduce matrices where we keep the order, okay, keep the organization of our information, and then after that we apply some calculations to all the information that we have. Right, so let's look at question 2 of this practice now example. So this one was question 1 actually. in question 2, we are shown a table whereby there are the number of students in the class, and then they are asked what sport they like best. They can only choose one sport. Okay, so in part I, we want to represent the data using a matrix itself. So whenever you're asked to represent the data into a matrix, okay, usually, alright, okay, although may not be all the time, we just have to transfer it into the correct number of columns and number of rows. So in this case, there are 2 rows, 4 columns. So we get 2 by 4 matrix. So that's all. Okay. In part 2, we are asked how many boys like swimming best. Okay, so we can read directly from the table. There is 5 boys. Part 3, find the sum of the elements in the first column of M. So part I is actually our matrix M. So M is actually equals to this. So sum of the elements in the first column, that is 14 and 1. So that's equals to 15. Question asks, what does this sum represent? Okay, so very often when in matrices, you'll be asked to maybe add things, subtract things. Okay, when we go into 4.2, 4.3, the later parts of this chapter, we are going to learn how to add and subtract and also multiply matrices. We are not going to be looking at division of matrices because after you see multiplication, you understand that division will be defined differently from what we know about division. Okay, so in this case, since you're looking at 14 and 1 being added up together, it is actually the number of students in the class that enjoy soccer. Explain the number that you got, you need to explain accurately to the context itself. Right? It will not be acceptable if you tell me that it represents the sum of the boys and girls who enjoy soccer. Okay, that is as good as repeating the question. So you need to answer according to the context of the question, right? And logically, when you see this, it is the total number of students in the class. And in part 4, okay, the question asks, how do you use the elements of M to find the number of girls in class? Okay, so we will just simply add up this one. So to write that up in words, we say that we find the sum of the second row of the elements in the second row, sorry. Of M, the matrix. So the sum will be 16. Okay. Next, I'll introduce to you what is equal matrices. Okay, just like how we understand equal sets, right? Okay, equal sets are where the elements are the same. So when it comes to equal matrices, the corresponding of the elements must actually be the same as well, and they must have the same order. So, an example. okay, will be A and B, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So therefore A must be equals to B. So we write A equals B. Okay, to apply the concept of equal matrices, you may be asked, okay, that you're given X and Y to be two matrices presented in this manner. Given in this question, X is equals to Y, so the matrices are equal. So therefore, we can conclude that 8A is equals to 16 because there is corresponding element. 5 is equals to A plus B. C is equals to D plus 3. And negative 9 is equals to 3D. Okay, so we can go about finding out what is A and D very easily. So A is 16 divided by 8, that will be 2. D is negative 9 divided by 3, negative 3. So C is equals to negative 3 plus 3, that's 0. So B is equals to 3. Okay. Next, I want us to look at exercise 4A, question 7. In question 7, you are given a table showing the total number of goals scored in each of the soccer matches between 4 teams in a tournament. Okay, each of the 4 teams plays against one another only once. So part I, we want to represent the data in the table using a matrix S. So S is equals to 0, 3, 1, 7, 3, 0, 4, 2, 1, 4, 0, 5, 7, 2, 5, 0. Okay? With a 4x4 matrix like that, I hope nobody is trying to squeeze this 4x4 matrix into one single full step line or writing line. Please split it across 2 lines at least. Right? I don't want to have to use a microscope to understand your numbers. And please write your numbers neatly. Okay, I know that in the exam you are given blank space rather than writing lines. So please don't write it in a slanted manner. Okay. Okay. Then in part 2, the question asks what is the total number of goals scored in the match between team C and team D. Alright, we got to first understand how the table is like. Okay, how to understand the table itself. It is essentially saying that whenever there's a match between team A and team B, the number of goals is 3. So we also see that when it's team A here and team B here, the number of goals is 3. Okay, because we're talking about the same match itself, whereby it's team A versus team B. Right? So likewise, when we see team C versus team D, okay, that will be 5. C and D will also be 5. Okay, so the actual number for the total number of goals scored in the match between team C and team D is 5. Okay, we are not going to add them up. Right? Okay, then in part 3, it asks what do the zeros in S represent. So, not logically, okay, it's not possible to have team A versus team A itself. One team versus saying each other is not possible. Okay, so B and B, C and C, and D and D, they're all zeros. Okay, so the zeros actually represent that there are no matches when playing between the team itself. Okay. Zeros represent no matches between the same team. Okay, because it's not possible. And in part 4, we want to find the sum of the elements found in the second row. So that means 3, 4, and 2. Okay, so the sum will be 9. Okay, so this sum itself, what do you think it represents? Total number of goals when team B is playing. Okay, yes, so it is the total number of goals when, okay, it is playing against team B. Right, it doesn't mean the number of goals that team B has gotten, because it is actually the same number over here. Right, so it is not representative of how many goals they have already gotten, but the number of goals whenever they play. So it is the number of goals when it is the total number of goals, sorry. Explain why the elements in S are symmetrical about the diagonal of zeros. So the diagonal of zeros represent this, okay, mean this one. So it is symmetrical because about this line itself, we find that diagonally they are actually symmetrical. So the reason why it is symmetrical is, as I mentioned earlier, okay, it is the number of goals that are being scored, okay, whenever these two teams are actually playing against each other. matrices. So with this, okay, we have some understanding of matrices already. Tomorrow we are going to be looking at addition and subtraction of matrices. Then also we'll be looking at multiplication of matrices, which is a different format itself. Okay.